Hey
Yeah,
everyone, my name is Samrat, and I welcome you back one more time on the Baseline Show. We do this Baseline Show every Saturday at 6 p.m. in India. It's the official office hours of Baseline Protocol. The way we are building it, it's an up and coming community, and we're seeing some real interest from huge companies already. Um, you know, in today's show, we're going to be talking about a fantastic and a booming industry, and of course, we have a stellar panel of speakers today. We have our very own Mohan, also from the Baseline community. He's also a sustainability expert. He's already run a startup in the area, and I'll let him talk more as the time goes. But thank you so much once again for tuning into this show, or if you're watching this video at a later date. This entire protocol is being built on the power of community. Thank you so much for it. I will keep welcoming you each time, each Saturday, because I know for sure that there are new people joining in. There are repeat viewers, but there are new people joining in every Saturday. So thank you so much, guys. If you're watching this for the first time, there's a link in the description here, which you see. Go to the baselineprotocol.org. There's a tab called Get Involved. You'll get all the links there to join our Slack community, to subscribe to the YouTube channel, to join the Telegram group. Just stay involved. Just keep listening to the updates. On If you're watching us on YouTube, do hit subscribe. Do hit the bell icon because we keep making a lot of announcements on the channel. We are changing the format of the show. There are two versions, as most of you may know, that there are two versions of the show running currently. One is the US or the global version, and then there is this India community launched by myself. We do this every Saturday so that people learn in the comfort, in their own comfort zone. It's happening in the evenings. People are done with their day. Um, Very interestingly, we've got some fantastic comments on the past speakers and the line of questioning, and what all potentially can be done on the show. So please keep your suggestions coming. We really appreciate it. Now coming to today's panel, today's show, extremely important. If you have heard about sustainability, if you're curious about sustainability, climate change, if you do consider climate change, or the imminent risk arriving out of climate change to be a real emergency, then today's show is for you. So do keep watching. Do ask questions. We are live on YouTube as well. So we'll be taking up questions from YouTube live. Our speakers are here. So I'll start with Shubhamoy. Shubhamoy is the CEO, co-founder, and director of Infrablocks Capital. Shubhamoy, I will invite you to introduce yourself and sort of talk about what has been your motivation working in this industry, and doing what you're doing. Along with Shubhamoy, we have Cedric. Cedric is also a co-founder and director in Infrablocks Capital. Our third speaker, we have Archit Srivastava. He's the general manager of strategic business at ESPL. That's one of the biggest auditing firms, carbon auditing firms on the planet. And of course, we have Mohan, who's our very own baseliner. I think Mohan, you and I both, we've spent over a year, right, in the baseline community. It's been more than that. So yeah, I would call you our stalwart in the baseline community. So yeah, with that, let's kick it off. Over to you, Shubhamoy. Why don't you go ahead, tell a little more about yourself, your motivations, and sort of give a TLDR. Sort of, what if somebody was to hear about sustainability or climate change for the first time, or especially investing in climate change and sustainability for the first time? What would you want, the three things that you would want them to know?
yeah. Thanks. So, and thanks for having us here on this show. Cedric and I, we co-founded Infrablocks in 2019. We conceived it in 2018 through multiple discussions, and our biggest motivation was that when we saw that there were a lot of green tagged events happening around the world, which were actually not green and which were manipulated in terms of the green outcomes that were being declared, um, be it in energy, be it in the social system, like land acquisition, education, distribution of aids and grants. So we felt that there was a need for objective on-ground measurement of impact and reporting it in a very unbiased, transparent manner, preferably through a system which is self-auditing. So that's where we brought in the blockchain concept in this, that you collect this information, put them out on blockchain so that they're untampered, they're self-audited, and they stay there. They stay there as a timestamp. Been a great journey. We have been working with some great corporations and DFIs around the world in the last 2 years of being here, and out of which 1 year was taken away by a virus. And so yes, my previous experience has been 20 years in project finance, primarily energy, and started with the when I started my career, I started the dirtiest variety of fossil fuel coal-fired power plants, moved from there to green energy of wind, hydro, from there to further green and distributed solar, which is like not only just green, it's also additionality in terms of providing electricity to the people who will not have it for many, many years. So that's what has been the background, and the motivation, as I said, was to be able to measure and report impact in a space where it is often used like punchline and without any seriousness. And I believe we have done a great job. We have a fantastic technical partner at IBT, which Cedric will talk about later. For me, and you asked for a few things on sustainability, so we'll come to this in the later part of the show. I think it's very important to take out a few myths. And I was talking somewhere yesterday, and there was this discussion came up. What is ESG financing? So people keep confusing between ESG and SDG and almost use them interchangeably, which is actually not correct. ESG is not a business model; it's a way of life.
Yeah.
uh, SDG can become a business model. You can invest in businesses which have SDG focuses, where you say, I will meet one or more of the 17 sustainable development goals. ESG is saying that, I brush my teeth in the morning. So,
Hmm.
so, so there's a big difference between the two, and I'll come to that, when we get there. But let me stop here for the moment.
Awesome. Awesome. No, that's a stellar introduction, Shubhamay, and thank you so much for taking out time and talking to the baseline community today. Cedric, why don't you go ahead next and talk a little about yourself and what's your motivation of running and building and running InfraBlocks?
Thank you, Samrat. Thanks for having us today on the show. Hi, everyone. So on my side, in fact, I have spent my career like around 10 years, a bit more of experience in development finance with institutions like the World Bank, working with BNP Paribas. So in fact, I started in commercial like investment banking with BNP, and after I shifted with the French development agency, moved to India. That's where I met with Shubhamoy and we started working together. And after I dedicated really my investment banking career more into emerging markets and also trying to make a positive impact, through and trying to have a kind of purpose-driven job, and that's really where where I started from. And I think there is today, for many of us, it's not enough just to do business and to look for enough financial returns or commercial activities, and we are trying to
Yeah.
do something in addition to this and try to give a sense and also having a positive impact around us. So that's how we I did work quite some time either on philanthropic projects, but also development finance in several sectors like clean energy, climate action, healthcare, education, microfinance, and all these sectors. So I think yes, that's the why, and so why we did start InfraBlocks with Shubhamoy maybe 2 years back. We saw, after we'll talk more about what is ESG, what is sustainable finance, but what we saw is that today the main challenge is really to demonstrate the impact. So you can say, I'm doing green finance, I'm doing sustainable impact, but if you are not able to prove a tangible impact on the ground, That's really the issue. And we saw the potential of technology as a blockchain, but it's not only around blockchain. There are also other sets of technology and also the combination of different technologies together. And when you have like the two different worlds, on one side, development finance and ESG finance, and on the other side, digital technologies, when you combine the two together, you can have like some very interesting results. So I will just stop here after we can deep dive a bit more into what is ESG, why it's important, later on the show. Thanks.
Thank you. Archit, you're up next. Tell us a little about yourself and your motivations of doing what you're doing. You're on the other side of the table, being the auditors and bringing out, sort of helping people get their ducks in a row. Over to
Thanks,
you.
thanks. Yeah, Samrat. So I started off approximately 11 years back, and it has been quite a ride, I must say. And back in the days, the Gujarat solar policy just came out, and I started my career with the solar farms, and graduated to green buildings and energy efficiency and stuff, and then worked in sustainable architecture for a bit, and then came to the world of carbon auditing. So like you were just at the beginning of the show, you were just asking about what are the three things that people should know who are willing to explore more about the world of sustainability and carbon auditing. So I just have to say that this is the right time to be there, because it's really picking up pace, and people have actually started giving this more weightage and more seriousness the way it deserves. It's a burning topic since quite a long time, but people were more towards their profits, towards their own operations, business as usual. But now they have actually started to think and develop more on the same line. So uh, having said that, there has been a rather huge paradigm shift, I must say, when it comes to what the world is seeing these days. Ever since Joe Biden took the office and ratified the Paris Agreement once again, uh, which Mr. Trump decided to exit. So there has been a drive, and there has been a very, very strong motivation in the companies based out of the US, especially to declare the net zero targets, to go for decarbonization. So all in all, it is resulting in a wave which we are just seeing to begin, and the plethora of projects that we are seeing these days, it's quite something in itself. So from uh, carbon emission avoidance in dairy farms to plantation and replantation in the mangroves and coral reef restoration. So everything is happening. So like we were also discussing offline as well, that baseline has got a big role to play here, and the blockchain tech in itself. So it's quite something which drives me all the time to have more conversations with you and be a part of this. Thank you very much once again. And yes, so I really feel that blockchain has got a lot to play when it comes to the monitoring, reporting, and verification part of any type of data. So whether that be for carbon avoidance, whether that be for ESG reporting, whether that be for anything that you can use it for. So I'm really excited, looking forward to this discussion, and yeah, over to you guys.
Oh, excellent, excellent. No, so I think let me sort of throw an open question of whoever wants to pick it up. So it's if I were to um, so there are two types of people that I see. One is including myself. I used to think that sustainability means doing good things, and not every business is doing good things. And and now that was like way back. But then eventually I graduated to a level where I'm now also on the board of a company which is a B Corp. So my journey, I mean, I took a journey and there were people involved, including Archit herself, that who has sort of educated me towards that direction, that it's so much more than just doing good things. Because I always thought that doing good things means NGO. That's a different thing altogether. So so these are common misconceptions that a lot of people may carry. I'm not calling them fools, I'm calling them maybe busier in their lives with other things. So if you were to give two or three pointers to people to look at, what they can do, how they can participate in this economy, what would you tell them? Maybe we can start
Let
with
me start.
Shubhamoy. Yeah,
Let me start by sharing a screen. Can
sure.
I share the screen? Okay. 1 second. Yeah. Can you guys see this now?
Yeah, I just enabled it.
You see this?
Hmm.
So,
Yes.
so this is the framework of sustainable investment or financing. Okay, you have an
Hmm.
exclusion list of businesses which do not comply with ESG criteria at all. So you can say alcohol, which is not like ethanol going into fuel, but you say alcohol, tobacco, brothels. So you say they're absolutely they cause harm, and they do not comply, and they're completely exclusion list. And then you start getting into businesses which do not cause harm, and when you say harm, it's harm to the larger society.
Yeah.
So there you have then buckets. You have a larger bucket which is act to avoid harm. That's responsible investment. And then you say, I not only act to avoid harm, but I also do something which benefits all stakeholders. And stakeholders
Hmm.
means whoever involved in the project in any way, direct, indirect. So it can be your smallest of employees and laborers or contractors, to your shareholders, lenders, institutions, government, regulators, everyone.
Yeah.
So there's a holistic benefit for all stakeholders. Then you are moving towards an SDG compliance. All those 17 candy boxes of SDG that you have, you are picking out one of those or more of those and saying, I am actually complying to furthering these goals. And then the third, even deeper inside that, is when you contribute. So you are doing business in a static manner where there is a social issue, and you say, I'm trying to do it in a manner so that it helps, but you're not bringing a disruptive change. But when you
Yeah.
do something in a way where you bring in disruptive change and contribute to solutions, then that's actually impact. So that lies
Hmm.
much deeper. So this is just to break down what you just said, that how does sustainable investment work. All businesses, I mean, all businesses will have some good for someone, otherwise they'll not be doing that business. But how do you segregate businesses which are eligible for being responsible investment, for SDG compliant investment, or for impact investment? That depends on the nature of not only the nature of business, but also the nature of role you play in that business. Yeah, I'm just taking this off
Cool.
there.
No, this was very interesting. Did you hear the music, by the way? Sorry.
There's
Hey,
music
any
too?
music
No.
right now? Okay, no, okay. So there's a baseline tune which we have. We generally play that in the shows, and sometimes happy. So it was right here, and I don't know, for some reason via the Bluetooth or something, it just started playing in my head. So I couldn't hear the last 5 seconds of what you were saying, and I thought that maybe because of that you stopped. I'm so sorry. So no, so this is a very interesting perspective, Shubhamoy. So you brought in the investment side, uh, but for assets, for any assets, or let's say derivatives, to be investable, you know so to say, what
Yeah.
is the intrinsic value that we see here, or anybody sees here? Of course, today every fund manager wants exposure towards ESG funds, towards ESG. So what is the intrinsic value people see? One is, of course, purely from making money. From what's the intrinsic value which companies see in doing this stuff?
Yeah. So just I'll just step in here before others come in. That let's not use ESG and SDG. ESG is kind of a lens. You're saying environmental,
Yeah.
social governance. So you are trying to follow a governance principle which your shareholders are going to ask for. So, for example,
Hmm.
do you have fair representation of women in your company? Mm, The answer is, as per the UN and World Bank estimate, they say that if you have one third women in your workforce, 35%, they say, then
Hmm.
you have enough. You are near the tipping point, because at 35%, they start getting
Hmm.
hurt because there are enough people talking. But
Yeah.
it's not. possible to achieve it to attain it to a 50-50 level immediately right now. It may happen over a period of time. But at 35%, they say it's a tipping point. So that's a gender lens. Similarly, your social governance. When you go about doing your business, what concerns do you show for the society? Now, these are not revenue drivers. These are not revenue models, business plans, or models. You
Yeah.
can have a revenue
Yeah.
model or business plan on the SDG goals, but ESG is just to doing business in a better and more responsible way. And why it is important, because you will have a financial value. So when you say ESG investing, you are not investing internally to do capacity building within your staff so that they become sensitized to ESG and they start complying it. They start complying it under becomes a way of life for them, and it just becomes a second nature. And why you do that? Because you invest, you spend time, you possibly not do a lot of cutting corners which makes quick profits, is because over a period of time you are going to see all community is going to get geared up on this. Do you use child labor in garments? I'll not buy from you because my financiers will not fund me if I buy from you. So you're going to see these kind of things coming in more and more, where your
Yeah.
financing will be channelized and you will be vetted on your ESG compliance to know whether I want to finance you or not. And again, that's
Yeah.
that's one of the founding themes of Intrablocks.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now you brought in a very establishing whether my suppliers are following certain norms or not. Now that may be regulatory in nature, or that may be ethical in nature for sure,
Self-regulated,
right?
self-regulated, yeah.
So it's regulated. It may be something as bad as child labor, for example. Now there are tons of compliances around that, and I may be making up complex product which has sort of 200 suppliers giving me stuff, and then as a corporate I may have a challenge in tracking compliances of all those 200 suppliers, right? So that's one opportunity. I'll just park this idea for now, and then we can come back to it later. You want to talk about what are your thoughts, Cedric, Archit? Do you want to contribute on this line of
Yeah,
discussion?
yeah. If I
Mohan,
may jump
sorry, I
in,
mean, you can chime in whenever. So you have a
yeah,
standing invite to speak up. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Sure, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, maybe to build on what Shlomo just said, and also somewhat what you were mentioning before, because you mentioned the NGOs. I mean, the world of NGOs and some of the population today, which is very focused on delivering impact and not at all focused on financial returns. So we have a slide. I don't know if you have it, Shubhamoy, but it's typically the way we introduce either sustainable finance or ESG or green finance. So what we say is
I
that previously you had two different words.
I
Uh,
think so. Let me just
yeah,
try to
maybe
pull that up.
I was trying to find it. I didn't find it. So before you had like two words which were totally independent. The word of philanthropy, which was only making donation with the objectives either to reduce poverty or to fight climate change, but only focused on the impact. On the other side, you had the world of commercial investors, which were only focused on financial returns and not at all trying to make a positive impact. And today, for 15 years, a bit more, you have the world of either sustainable or
Hmm.
impact finance. And the world, in fact, of impact investment, it's quite recent. It's from
Yeah, it's up now.
It was up. Okay, I
Yeah, I
just
had to approve it, so I just approved it when I think you stopped sharing.
just
okay.
see.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, exactly.
this is the one.
Yeah. So see how we are a good team. I don't mention the slide, and you see what I mean. So
No, that's the absolute mark of being a good team. Absolutely, I totally agree.
yeah, exactly. And so yeah, so you see on the left philanthropy, on the right traditional investing, and what we have at the bottom is like the SDG or the like impact focus. So between these two worlds, you have like quite a few players. So there is what we call impact investment, which is more related to philanthropy, but still trying to make some financial returns. But like their prior
Mm.
concern is having a positive impact. So, for instance, everything related to microfinance, that's something we would have in this one, because typically a microfinance institution is a bank lending to the poor, and which is counterintuitive for the traditional world. After, if you see on the right, there is Sdg Thematic Investing. So Sdg, you have like 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and
Yeah.
these investors, they are like focused on specific thematics. So it's either clean energy, it can be education, healthcare, and they really focus on these specific thematics. And as Shubomo was saying, on the right, you see ESG integration. So ESG, environmental, social, and governance, it's more something they include in their, strategy, investment strategy, but it's not
Yeah.
necessarily something that they are looking for. So it's more like in their risk analysis, they will incorporate or include it, but they don't necessarily like try to have like a positive impact. So it's like these two, like, if we try to define sustainable finance or sustainable investing, it will include all these components, and each of them have specific characteristic. Maybe I just wanted to add one thing. It's why sustainable investing is happening today. Why we believe that it's here to stay, and it's driven
Yeah.
by like strong fundamentals. Because it's some of the things that we hear sometimes, whether in the news. So, for instance, from green finance or renewable energies, some people are saying it's like a bubble, and
Yeah.
and there is a hype. It can be the same. So it was the same in microfinance before. It can be the same in carbon
Yeah.
reduction. But on our side, we at Infrablocks, we have identified three elements which show that it's here to stay. The first one is that you have a shift of generation today. You have the
Mm.
generation of what we call the millennials, like these teenagers, like very into impact, but now they are getting older, and they are more, getting it into decision making or even for investment. So there is a new generation which is coming up, which is very into sustainability, and for the only
Mm.
reason that they have seen it, like you have seen like this summer with like the fires in the forestries in I think in
Yeah.
US, also in Europe. They see
Yeah.
COVID can be related to sustainability. So they have seen it. So it's a generation which is conscious of this issue.
Yeah.
The second driver that we see is that today there is evidence, there is data evidence which show that you can have profitability and positive impact. So you can do both. Before,
Yeah.
like maybe 10, 15 years ago, when you were saying that you want to have positive impact and make returns, uh, you were not considered seriously because you did not have like data to or evidence to bet to prove. But today you have
Mm.
investors, you have several funds which have done investments, they have exited, and they show like the track record of very good financial returns and positive impact. And I think the third one, which is very important as well, is that you have a push from international institutions, from the governments, from public authorities, and that's why you
Mm.
see all these frameworks like SDGs, GRI, SASB, all these acronyms coming up, and you have like a trend going to a global regulation for sustainable impacts. And what we believe is that within the next 10 years, you will not be able to make an investment without demonstrating the ESG impact of or the ESG consideration. It will be mandatory, and it will be a regulatory constraint for the investors. So that's the direction, where we are going, and that's why we think that sustainability and sustainable
Mm.
investing, it's here to stay for the very, very long term.
No, absolutely. I think, in fact, what what's exciting is the SDG 17 itself is about financing the other 16. So it's and kudos to the two of you, for setting up infra blocks and doing what you're doing. It's really interesting, intriguing. People have done a lot of talk, but no work on this area. So kudos to you. And let me bring in Mohan. You've been involved in a lot of in what you were doing with Upjaunt, and then you sort of pivoted towards more of a sustainably conscious business, right? You want to talk a little more about this, Mohan?
Yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I didn't quite realize that you guys were doing what you're doing. This is quite amazing. Um, just to give you, so back in early 2019, we started a social networking platform for specifically for travel. And when we, basically the idea was to help people kind of contribute content and help people discover travel opportunities. And we felt there was something there which was a little different than what you could do on Instagram and so on. But when we launched, COVID came along, and what we realized was the industry feeling was that things won't revive till 2024. And venture capitalists said that under any good circumstance, in best of times, travel is probably not the investment we seek. This is maturity, right? You're looking at large scale, and COVID is obviously a bad thing. So we decided to pivot, and some of our users were actually involved in sustainability or sustainable travel, and they said, well, why don't you consider that? And we looked at it and we said, okay, maybe we can go a little further and look at sustainability, but not to say that sustainability from a cliche standpoint, but something concrete. What we decided to do address was zero waste. So basically, 55% of household waste. Households create 55% of municipal solid waste. So we wanted to figure out, what the challenges were, why, how sort of different countries and how different areas kind of organized around this. Is there a consistent approach? What is happening? And we realized that zero waste management is different things in different places. And so what we actually are, we have a community of about over 100 people right now who are basically innovators and early adopters in Pondicherry, a French colony, right, from Puducherry. And so it's an atelier. And so there's a movement that's now spreading to Delhi, to Chennai, and so on and so forth. In fact, I live in New York City, and my team is, I think there's a couple of them, I think in France, there is, most of them are in India. And so what we're doing is we are building community to help households and small businesses to shepherd them, the community shepherd them through to zero waste lifestyle. So it's more like the ESG kind of thing, zero waste lifestyle. So what we see is that one of the problems with is obviously awareness, desire. Waste is not the most sexy thing. It's not an Apple iPod. It's not Tesla, right? How do you make it important in this lifestyle? How do you get the TikTok crowd to want to do this? Right? That is the biggest challenge. So that would be the goal. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make this exciting, knowledgeable learning and build, that there's a certain amount of gamification, but fundamentally getting people more aware, doing little things that impact. So we look at households as a black box. And when I talk about households, it's small businesses as well. If you look at it as a black box, you got inputs and you got outputs. Inputs are what you buy, outputs are what you produce. And many times there's not enough of the right products to buy. And on the output side, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to segregate, and you don't know where it goes. There's no transparency, or there's no follow-up. I mean, you don't know where to give it. So what we decided to do is we decided, okay, there's all these notions of circular economy, reverse supply chain, all of them are just buzzwords. We have to make this happen. So we have got to focus on bringing community to build awareness, which is different in different places. Just help each other move along, and then basically support a group that will essentially make this supply or value chain, if you want to call it that, better. Because better products coming in, ecopreneurs creating better products, and on the output side, ecopreneurs who facilitate the handling and the disposal and the and upcycling, recycling of waste, right? So there's two constituents, the households and the ecopreneurs. What we're trying to do is we're trying to basically get that sort of growing, but initially focusing on the community development aspect of the households. And then when there's critical mass, we figured, or it's, we're actually getting a lot of people who are on the platform, who are looking to sell courses, who are looking to sell, new products, etc. So we're hoping that there could be a finance aspect as well. So we're looking at blockchains, we're looking at tokenization of the platform, but we're also looking at, we were actually thinking of something down the road as something like green credits, or zero waste or green credits, which is analogous to carbon. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to get money into facilitating the ecopreneur development on both sides of the equation, if you will. And for that, I think, for what you guys are talking about, I think it really segues nicely because, we need sources of finance, whether it's like, I look back to the old Grameen Bank concept or the Acumen funds that used to be there in New York, which used to have a return on investment, but at the same time it was trying to tap into the nonprofit sector of money to go into these things and provide a return where there is one. So we're starting off right now in the community, and the good part of the community is, I think, talking about financial returns. If we are able to build the early adopter and the innovator base effectively around the world, right now we have around the world, then essentially what you have is a cohort of passionate zero wasters, and that's a marketable audience. That's a marketable audience. I mean, for any product. And so we look at that as, yes, it's an opportunity for online marketing dollars. It's an opportunity for online product sales. So for us, we don't even have to worry about necessarily making money off transactions. We are looking at facilitating, gross merchandise value flow on the platform, and so I think for us, we see that monetization is not a concern. It's really providing value and building the audience. So shepherding the audience is going to be the biggest challenge we face. And right now we're growing. We're targeting Indian growth, because I think developing and Africa, we have partners now. I mean, we have folks both in India and Africa, and so we're looking at building out those two places first.
I think you picked up the toughest markets first, so I think you succeed here and you go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Sir Shubhama. Yeah, it's absolutely open.
That's just to give an example of my background.
Yeah.
I came into BCI basically I was an early team member of a company called TIPCO, which is enterprise integration and business workflows, and I was just very curious about the next third generation of technology around baseline, solving integration problems with security, and so that's how I got involved in baseline.
So Mohan, on the tokenization that you are working on, can you elaborate on that? What exactly are you trying to tokenize, and what will be the underlying asset that will be traded through these tokens?
Yeah, so the tokenization aspect at this stage is remains to be seen. So we looked at two types. So the token, there's a general token, and so the tokenization wise, if you look at someone basically, if someone maybe let me look at it this way. So the tokenization would be where you get you're facilitating. You're an ecopreneur. You're facilitating the process. You're selling products, etc., and there is a buildup of tokens based on creating value. So if you are a ecopreneur that's doing something useful that is facilitating the community, you get tokens issued. So it's more like if you want to talk, it's like your sort of just credits that you get, and so those credits basically can be monetized by through people deciding to financially support the individual ecopreneurs. In which case, then there's the swap of these credits for money. But we wanted to create we wanted to create a monetary system that was basically one which is, it's got maybe there's a stable coin on the system that people can invest, buy, and that use that to invest in projects. But at the same time, people who are facilitating the zero waste community are getting tokens issued. Basically, your what is it called? Credits for the work that you do. So if you, for example, if you, for example, are providing waste, right? Typically today, when you provide waste, you're providing out of the interest in doing sustainable activity. But what if your waste is actually down the road is actually creating value, meaning it's upcycled, recycled, it's creating value, and basically you want some, you get something back for it. So if there is a product that if someone collects a whole bunch of this raw material, so we look at waste as an asset, right? So if it becomes an asset and it's traded or it's sold, then on the platform, the transaction is caught, and any revenues that are generated, a part of it is sequestered by, as a contract, by virtue of contract, up the chain. So money will actually flow back through the people who are part of the value chain according to a contract, and even the households who provide the resources get something back, right? That would be the
Yeah.
ideal kind of model where we would see the coin as being used. But we see different types of coins, derivatives, maybe derivative coins. But at this point in time, that's not even a concern right now, because we are building community, and so the coins are less uh, interesting at this stage in the game. So I think
So
we will dive more into it as we go along.
yeah, so the way I'm following you and thinking on this. So the way you are looking at this becoming is this possibly can become some kind of a philanthropic CER, so like the certified emission ratings, currencies you had, or the certificates you had. In the US, you have the renewable energy certificates, RECs. Now, in you have these philanthropic certificates, which you can then go, and it can become a bit of a gold standard to for everyone to say that I have donated to this cause, and then there's a central minting of tokens for various philanthropic causes around the world. And you don't have a financial value, but you go and create a shareholder communication saying the same way, like in carbon emission trading, you don't create an immediate financial value for yourself, but you say that I have invested or I have donated X amount of money to this philanthropic cause, and I have got these tokens. And that kind of becomes a gold standard of communication to your shareholders, saying I'm a responsible corporate citizen. Are you thinking
That's
it would be
fantastic.
something
Yeah.
like this?
Yeah.
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 So
So
that's what
Archit,
I said. When I look at you guys, what you're doing, you're offering a structure behind my sort of more wishful thinking, if you will. Right? There's a certain amount of I mean, all of this kind of makes sense at the 10,000 foot level, but when you actually
yeah.
come and implement something, it may not work. Right? There's got to be a formal methodology that people are familiar with. Right? And when I look at what you guys are doing, I see that there's a formalism behind this. There's method. I remember when I was 15 years ago at Columbia University, there was an accounting professor who was pushing this idea of social return on investment, and this is the early days of Acumen Fund and all of that. And the idea was, well, all of them were off balance sheet items. There's nothing. There's Wall
Of
Street
course, yeah.
has no recognition. But what you're talking about is those things are going to become, like Cedric was saying, in 10 years, it's going to become mandatory, right?
Yes.
So in the matter of 25 years, this has completely changed.
Yes, and while these tokens initially are not underpinned to a financial asset, what you will see is you will see a delta in your share price movement because of these tokens you have and you report. Saying so there would be people who would be having more demand for your stocks because you fall in that bracket. Let us have this discussion offline sometime, because we would like to get involved and see how we
Yeah,
can
it's very
build.
interesting.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
I
good.
wanted to say we need
Excellent. See,
to
we
close.
we
Yeah.
end up making value for everybody who comes on the
Well,
show. So yeah,
Samrat is
kudos.
always like always tuned into the right things. So,
No, yeah. So I think, see, Mohan, I think we've been having this chat since a long time now, and I
yeah,
think we're now at the next stage already.
Yeah.
on
Well,
live on a live show.
One show.
Samrat, can I
So
add to that, please?
yeah, please do. Ajit, in fact, I was just
Okay,
going to invite you. You've been awfully
okay.
quiet. That what's happening here.
No, I was just trying to absorb everything. There's so much of
Hmm.
stuff to learn. So Mohan, I've got something for you. I mean, this is an idea that I'm bouncing off you. Probably it's gonna sound bizarre, but here it is. So when we talk about, say, eco tourists, let's call them eco tourists, who are willing to cut down their waste, and their footprint is automatically reduced. So
Carbon footprints. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And at the same time, what's happening is that for such travelers, for such tourists, the maintenance is low, right? One way or the other, you can figure that out. There are n number of scopes to capture on. So here, you tokenize them, you reward them, you probably attach a monetary value, or probably give them a reward which is coming back for the next time. Now this becomes revolving. As soon as more and more people see this, they keep coming to you for ecotourism, eco traveling, and trying to get that tag, so that, hey, I would like to be associated with this community, that I'm a zero based traveler. And even if I travel for business, even if I travel for fun, so it's all going to be responsible travel, so to say. There are many schemes, for example, Corsia, which has just come up for aviation industry, because happens to be just one of the biggest emitting industries of the world. So over there, so it's happening, and it's taking shape. So this is just an idea that I thought that probably I
No,
should
that's
pass.
brilliant, brilliant. Because when we shifted, as I said, it was this sustainable travel, etc. Again, the problem was that the whole travel industry is like, we contacted the CXOs what was it, at Hilton, and basically the priorities were all different, right? So the question here is, how are you going to, kind of, you can't make forays into an industry which is got fundamental problems right now, right? And I think this as a sort of as a follow-on makes complete sense, because we actually already were going in that direction, but we're going in it towards a community that actually is in dire need right now. So when we're looking, we model this in WhatsApp. We started a WhatsApp group, and the amount of engagement and the amount of sharing of ideas. I
Part of
just
it.
went and
Yeah.
bought a Kickstarter product for. It's like the Sumit. I mean, Ultra Grinder. I don't know if you guys know of the Ultra Grinder in India. It's a compact, brilliant, old style, new style grinder. Like that, they've come up with a kitchen top composting thing which can compost in 20 hours. Right. I discovered that on this WhatsApp group that we created, and that's the kind of
Okay.
stuff. Here we're sitting in New York, and we got that discovered by someone in California, right? And shared it with us. So this WhatsApp group was creating so much energy. We said, okay, and we had done a lot of stuff with maps and creating GIS of travel on map. And so we have the map stuff, and said that's fantastic. So you'll know where to find your disposal site. You'll know where the eco-friendly laundromat is. You'll know the eco grocers. And so all of this is very natural to our platform. And so I think your idea is actually great, because now if there are references to the aviation industry, it becomes easier to pitch to the investors, right? Because
Hmm.
that, what is my return on investment? This sounds
It's
so
all linked.
fun.
It's all linked. It's all
It's all
connected.
linked.
Yeah, it's linear, absolutely, and should bring out some value for yourself as well. So
I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys and really
All of
learning
you
more.
guys. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
In
can
fact,
see
we
it.
can continue once we take the show off air. So here is another pocket of opportunity which I see, coming from baseline perspective. So so one, of course, we spoke about suppliers and what they do. By the way, we've had John. So John said hi. John is the co-founder and the technical steering committee chair. He joins us from on YouTube today, and he says hi on YouTube. So yeah, thanks, John, for tuning in, and of course you have a standing invite to be in the studio. So hope to see you next time. So yeah, so here is my second pocket of opportunity, where we are saying that there are multiple stakeholders in a transaction, and how does data travel? Because if you're saying that there's an airline which brought me to a place, and there's a hotel, there's a restaurant which serves me, there's a hotel. How does all that come together? How am I making sure that there's this one eco traveler the eco traveler term that we just came up with. How do systems, and imagine if it becomes a norm and there are millions of them, how do we track who's doing what? How do we track each other's, these guys' footprints? What are
See,
the
most
system?
of
Are
it
today's
is,
systems capable of it?
yeah, sorry. So most of it is voluntary itself, right? You can
Yeah,
you can very well take the information about the travel plans and the itinerary that, so to say, the eco traveler is having, but there is a big catch when it comes to the Horeca segment, because as a 5 star, as a 7 star, I would not like to disclose what kind of waste did my customer leave at the hotel room, right? So
yeah,
I think
yeah,
this is one of the big silo that we were talking about. And
yeah.
yeah, so I think we have one of them identified. No. So yeah, I mean, there has to be more drive. There has to be raising the ambition, so to say, when it comes to disclosure of data, so that
Yeah,
can be captured in the ESG components, can be captured in the footprint analysis, can be captured everywhere whenever you want it to be. So
mm,
I think Horeca segment is something which is just sitting on a big chunk of data and not willing to disclose, and have got confidentiality rights as well. I mean, that's
yeah,
that's for sure. And
yeah.
while respecting them, uh, I'd just like to have a minimum level of information, something that the protocol is, solving in a manner.
Mm.
And
Awesome,
it's
awesome.
interesting you mentioned this because in Kenya, there are sustainable travel locations or destinations, and obviously abodes as well. And in that case, there are consultants who are actually advising these outfits on sustainable practices, and the sustainable
Yes.
practices are not only in how you're managing your say Airbnb. It's also about your impact on the community. So, for
Of course.
example, it might be the Maasai. What are you doing for them, et
Right.
cetera, et cetera. And I think it's, as you
Yeah,
said, it's hard to capture all of this, particularly if it's someone who doesn't want to reveal anything. But I think
yeah,
what you can do is you can do a sort of a soft meter where travelers who are there say, I think they're very sustainable because, and then what's your credibility? Is you're claiming that they're sustainable? How sustainable are you to make that
mm,
assessment, right? So those are
yeah,
soft, but we can get there, and we don't have to
Hmm.
like, have a perfect system, right? It's all
Hmm.
we're better than if we do better than what we have done in the past, we're good.
So,
yeah.
so
True,
airlines has
true, true.
already started doing it. Okay, if you when you buy a ticket, be it from the airline website or through a travel agency, it'll ask you for reduction of carbon footprint. Your
Right.
invoice will show that. Now, when you upload your tickets to any of those travel integrators like TripIt or others, they would take the whole ticket and they can start building a carbon footprint mitigation accumulator for you. So you can say
Yeah,
that like the way they say that you have flown so many miles in last 1 year, it will also show this much of carbon footprints you have mitigated. And the same way can come from the Horeca segment. Once you start, so what will happen is that the data will lie at the user end of the apps, and then these can be uploaded on a central system, or if you are if as a user you are going to find a financial value of this tomorrow. Say for example, some banks or financial institution can come up with a novel scheme, like they give discounts all the time on all or so many card promos. They can say, someone reporting carbon footprint reduction of X amount in a year is going to get these benefits on their cards or whatever. So that's how it will become more incentivized than a pure voluntary philanthropic thing that is there now.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've
and I
got a
think
yeah.
question. Go ahead.
No, you
Hey,
guys see me
Yeah,
smiling. I'm actually responding to some YouTube comments. Yeah. Great,
carbon
great, great
footprint
going, guys.
versus
Please keep pouring the comments.
I'm
Yeah,
seeing those. I'm
go ahead.
seeing those.
carbon footprint versus waste footprint. There is a soft equivalent. I mean, it
Yeah,
doesn't directly translate directly, right? I mean, in terms of yes, plastic gets burnt, waste gets produced. I mean, maybe there's a eventual carbon aspect to it. But even if you look at a corporate when they're buying stuff, right? Are you
yeah,
you're
Yes.
buying better carbon footprint products? But what
mm,
about stuff that is creating less waste? That doesn't translate directly into carbon, right? That's why we were looking at zero, as I said, green, but more zero waste tokens. That's what we were thinking, which is we thought was different than carbon tokens.
No, of course it's different. It's different, but it's just integrated into one another. So if you would like to expand that to the overall carbon footprint, then you become a green traveler, labeled green traveler or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
zero waste. I mean, whichever component you would like to target to start things off, I think that would be great, and then build on it. So that should be a healthy way to go about it. But yeah, I mean, if you want to start big, capture three more five components, I mean, it's always good. More
Hmm.
sustainable the merrier it is, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's this one more aspect which I want you guys to touch upon. One is, the most important one, in view of baseline protocol, that what are the data silos? While we spoke about, the present models, we also spoke about futuristic ideas. We also spoke about a high sort of hybrid model, which Mohan is talking about. So, what are the data silos that you guys see? And when you talk about those data silos, also talk about what are the opportunities which can be created if we break those data silos.
Yeah, I think one of them, I mean, the factor for data not being disclosed, that comes across confidentiality as one, as a major one. So if we
Hmm.
can solve that with the minimum level of information that can be accessed, and provided that it's already verified through blockchain, and the
Hmm.
token is sealed, time stamped, etc. So with that, I think as an auditor, it makes my life very easy, because I know whatever information is coming across, it's verified by three different people from three different sectors, so that I can just plug that data and bring that to the table. But if I go to Taj, let's say, and
Yeah.
ask for a history of all the
Yeah.
travelers for the past month, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But the purpose that I'm trying to solve here is just to calculate the footprint, let's say.
So
So
there's
if
privacy. Yeah.
there's privacy, definitely,
Yeah. Privacy
definitely.
is there.
Privacy and confidentiality is something
Yeah.
that we have to respect, and I think the protocol is, you know, absolutely fantastic in solving it.
Of course. Of course. It has privacy by design. So very
Right,
interesting.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Cedric, you want to say something on this?
Yeah, thanks. I
Cedric?
wanted to jump
Yeah.
in. It's very interesting what you're saying, Archit. And in fact, so we have a project this at InfraBlocks. It's related to carbon credits, and it's exactly what you mentioned. So what you can do today, if you reduce the level of carbon emission, you can in
Hmm.
fact monetize by selling carbon credits, abroad.
Oh, we are
And today's
auditing
issue.
CISA.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where you came, as an auditor. You are part of the value chain of the carbon credits, and the project on which we are working, it's how you can use blockchain and technology to streamline the process, of carbon credit issuance, and also to bring transparency and the proof of origin. So typically, if you say that you reduce like 5 tons of CO2 with one project, and after you sell it, to an airline who wants to compensate, their carbon emission, how you can demonstrate really that you have been, in fact, reducing the level, of carbon, and that's where blockchain come, as you are mentioning, Archit, come into the game, because what you can do, if you are able at the origin of data emission to encrypt on a blockchain with a timestamp and to get verified by other stakeholders. After, when the auditors, or if the buyer of the carbon credits, or the investor, or the one who is investing or donating, in CSR, if they want to be able to see the proof of origin, they can, with blockchain, they can get back to the origin and be able to verify. After, there is one more thing in terms of data silos and where the data comes from, is that
Yeah.
today what's missing, in this kind of initiatives, it's what we call the project beneficiaries. So if you have
Hmm.
a microfinance project, you at the end you have a family which is benefiting either from the loan or from the microfinance, and you have behind like the children getting access to education, getting access to electricity, etc., etc. So here you have some data which is today untapped and which is not readable. So if you can use technology to give them access to provide feedback, and you can ensure that the feedback which is given, it cannot be tampered with, you increase, in fact, the value of your of the impact on the ground, and that's what we we are working on at InfraBlocks, and I think that's what's missing today when we speak about bad data. How do you demonstrate, the proof of origin of the data and the
Yeah.
accuracy? Yeah,
So
and behind it's
lineage
like,
and integrity, right?
yeah,
That's something.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
something
exactly,
which really matters.
and
Um,
transparency in the process.
yeah. I think there's also a problem of double spend. That's something which I understand, or double counting. Which I understand. From my research and of course chat with
Double
Arshit
double
in the
counting
past.
of what?
Uh, there's double counting of benefits which people are availing out of their initiatives. So now that can be something which, so one is of course, if I'm passing on my information to you guys, to my to see, it can be anybody in the entire supply chain, or it can be anybody in the entire hierarchy, my downstream organization, my upstream organization, people passing on information about what are the initiatives they've taken, generating what value, and then if that value is being passed on to the next organization in the supply chain, then of course that information has to travel, and of course the aspects that Cedric brought in about data integrity and the lineage. So if I'm saying I've done this, where is the data? And when an auditor comes, I mean, I've also been an auditor in the past, so when an auditor comes in, he says something which is not documented is not done, simple as that. So one is definitely documentation around it, but then of course the second aspect is whether that documentation is substantiated by sufficient evidence, which is key here. So it's not just about issuance of carbon credits, or issuance of or passing on benefits to downstream organizations. It's also about uh, whether I have the means today to to
Mm,
to, to capture that information and transfer uh, that benefit. So baseline, how I see it is helping is, that's twofold. So first of all, what's baseline? Baseline is a collection of methods for synchronizing systems. We've started talking about this a lot on this particular show, which is constant state of synchronization. So constant state of synchronization, what it means is that you're making sure that two systems, however disparate they may be, while they may be operating in different time zones, different countries, different areas altogether, but or different tech stack, etc., but they may achieve synchronization via utilizing baseline. So imagine it to be at the layer of a USB port, where I'm giving you the design of a USB port. Now use that port to plug in your devices and start using them. So now that is something uh, absolutely interesting. And I feel the three pockets of opportunities, if you will, which was spoken about today. One is, of course, getting to understand my suppliers, what's happening with my suppliers, what's happening with their compliances, what's happening with, uh, even to that matter. I think if there are suppliers who are doing a great job above others, so I still have to know, what they're doing and what they're claiming, whether that's right or not. So that's number one. Number two was about the privacy. So I think baseline by design has got privacy built in it. It utilizes a concept called zero knowledge proofs, and I think that makes sure that there is absolutely no data on the blockchain. John Walpert, our TSC chair, he there's a famous dialogue he speaks about, and massive plug in here, but there's a Nascam event coming up. Uh, and he's speaking there, and his talk is actually called "No Data on the Blockchain." So there's absolutely no data which goes on the blockchain. Only proofs travel to the blockchain. That's important. So there's absolutely no way data can get leaked out of transactions being carried out between parties. Then the third pocket of opportunity is the lineage. So while there is no data being traveling, there is still proofs which can be exchanged securely using a system designed via baseline. So that is something. So that's how I see, the baseline breaking data silos, um, even for the industry that we're currently talking about. Any thoughts around that? Sorry, I sort of went on to a rant, but I think I do see this is ripe for adoption of blockchain. So of baseline. So adoption of baseline. So let's talk about when and how.
So I'll just give you a quick quick thought on this. See, the data privacy issues and everything. It's a privacy at your device end. The moment it goes out, in most of the cases, this goes out as just a tagged number. Uh, you are not tagged in that as an individual, and a lot of people don't understand. When Google picks up data from the map to figure out what is the traffic real time, what is the traffic congestion ahead of you,
Yeah,
it is not saying, that data is coming from Samrat, that Samrat is there.
yeah,
Whatever
yeah,
data you have on your local travel is on your local device, it is not on the
yeah,
Google server. It just picks up that part of the data which tells you that you are moving in that stretch at a very
yeah,
slow pace, which means it has to be a red line because there's a
yeah,
traffic congestion there. and
yeah.
and if that comes from only one vehicle, it does not become red. But if that comes from all geotagged vehicle
In
in that region,
aggregated data.
that,
Yeah,
that means there is a traffic congestion. Otherwise you could have had a flat tire. So
yeah,
so what I'm saying is this privacy issue, yes, it's a matter of concern. And the privacy policy of a company is limited to the policy of that company. Like, there was a
yeah,
big news recently on Apple trying to look into your pictures and photos to see, they said against to that's a step against child pornography. Now the world
yeah,
said that, yes, Apple has been known to not give out data, but Apple has also been known to use a third party in China because they had to give data and they gave it through that third party instead of giving it themselves. So when business matters, what policy takes precedence, that's open to speculation. But
mm,
yes, I mean, so this is very very important to know that, that what
right.
data from your
Yeah,
handheld is actually picked up at the
yeah,
central server level, and what data
yeah,
remains at the local level.
yeah. No, let's talk about multi-party data workflow. So, a little bit about where I was coming from. It's more towards, let's say if we are running, we were talking about a travel use case, right? So if I'm, suppose I advertise to somebody, I'm an influencer. I advertise to somebody that you should go to this fantastic place called Kurg in the south of India. So you should go there, have a good time, stay in a homestay, have the local experience. I'm the one who influenced you to take that decision, but I don't even know whether you took the decision or not. So you eventually went, and then you made your bookings through the ones which I had recommended. You even went to the same homestay. Uh, Currently, there are no 100% ways to track sales happening in this manner. So imagine the information flowing across parties. This is influencer marketing protocol, influencer marketing platform, uh, gathering information from YouTube or from whatever booking systems this guy used, to the hotels, to the airline. It takes care of everything. So to be able to do that, either what I'll do is I'll have to establish one digital ID, which by the way is possible using baseline. To establish one digital ID, give it to a traveler, and mask all the private information, or keep passing on travelers private information between parties. Now that has some serious regulatory or compliance implications. Maybe an Indian traveler, DPA is kicking in, Data Privacy Act is kicking in very very soon. If it's a European national, then GDPR applies there as well. So what I'm trying to say is that if there is at all a business opportunity, I'm not saying that this model exists today, but this opportunity can be explored. That what if there were seven people or seven parties involved in bringing a traveler to a eco-friendly space, and then that traveler did their thing and then they went back, etc. So how do you split revenue with these guys? How do you even track who were the parties involved in this one transaction? Can we go back? Can we establish all this? Now this is one idea which I've been working on since 3 years. Happy to explore with you guys as well. So I don't know, people on YouTube we're giving out very too many billion-dollar ideas. So yeah, let's also post our Bitcoin wallets here so that people can pay us. Cool. So this is where we are. Any parting thoughts, guys? We're on the top of the hour. We're actually beyond the hour by 10 minutes. So,
Well,
and thank you
Samrat,
so much, people on YouTube. I think I see people are increasing in numbers on YouTube.
Samrat,
Yeah,
just on the same note that you just said, you gave an
yeah,
idea. Someone starts a $1 billion company. They need to pay you back, and that needs to be
of
on
course.
baseline. That needs to be on baseline.
They have to be on baseline, yes, of course. I need my bags. So yeah, any parting thoughts, guys? So I think this is a discussion which definitely is worth multiple episodes, not just one. So I'm not going to leave you guys, Archit, Shubhamoy, Cedric. You're going to be back very, very soon. And we should not just do one episode, we should do a sort of series where we pick up different areas and try to sort of double click on things which, where we go
Yeah.
sort of deeper in use cases. These are use cases. So
Hmm.
currently we are, the way we spoke today, or this video could serve as a, as a TLDR, as a, somebody could establish a framework around it. But then, let's go deeper. Let's sort of try and construct that building, put a little meat on the bone, how people can pick it up, of course. And yeah, with intra blocks, I hope that a lot of people find value. Mohan, myself, Archit, we will talk to you guys separately for sure. Any parting thoughts, guys? Over to you guys.
On the note, when you said, Samrat, that you wanted to figure out how the chain is working, and you want to figure out who all were the parties involved when the traveler actually reached there. So if you monetize that, if you tokenize that, I think all the data is going to flow into you.
Hmm.
Mm, mm.
Yeah,
So,
maybe one thought from my side. In fact, it's related to this is related more to value chain or supply chain. So we have also a project at InfraBlocks. On this one, it's more related to organic food. So, but the issue is similar, related to data. If you buy an organic product, can you go back, through the value chain or the supply chain to identify the farmer who has produced the product, and to be sure that the farmer is well included in the supply chain and also receives the
Hmm.
adequate benefits, and that the value
Absolutely.
doesn't go to the
Actually,
middleman.
Cargill came out with a platform like that just yesterday. I
Yes,
saw it on Reuters. Cargill
yeah,
came up with
exactly.
this, and I was discussing the same thing with Archit as well. That this is the
Yeah.
time that we build. All of us got together. Beautiful minds coming together and creating something like this, because it may not be a great deal for people in the developed world. But imagine those benefits being passed on to the developing world.
yes, of course.
That will
I
be
mean,
huge. Even 10
yeah.
cents being passed back to somebody in a corner of Africa or India,
Yeah.
it will be huge,
I
right?
mean, you have a farm level inclusivity, then that's like you have checked so many SDG boxes.
Yeah, true that, true that.
One of the things I think in the case of say a farm blockchain, if you will, right? I mean, industry blockchain or whatever, is the visibility of useful data to the outside world, right? I mean,
Hmm.
if you're doing, if they truly adopted something in baseline where they actually said we will put certain pieces of information for for public consumption or for other third party consumption on say an Ethereum blockchain, then vital data that says these farmers participated and they contributed to this, etc. Then someone who wants to do an eco footprint, a carbon footprint, or social impact thing, they get access to the data and they can do value added stuff. But till that happens, that's not going to work. On the other hand, if the data was actually owned by the individual and therefore everybody else is touching on that data, then obviously the data is public to start with because the individual is public, right? I mean, so I think baseline, I think, has value. And one of the biggest values I think baseline has is the ability to use level 2 protocols, roll up and do batch, tokenization, which reduces the cost. Because if you're using something like Ethereum, because everybody's using Ethereum, your costs of tokenization
We
will go up.
we also have a layer 2 protocol built just around baseline. So uh, the testnet got released on September 1st, but yeah, we should club this one with base lecture discussion for sure. That also brings me to reminding everybody about ETH Atlanta. So first event coming up is the Nascam annual technology conference, where Baseline is going big. John has a session, the executive uh, part of the event, where John will be talking about Baseline protocol, and we have absolute deep dive sessions being conducted by Andreas and Kyle. um, so to tune in, it's an online event. I will post the registration link on the YouTube description. The next event to look out for is ETH Atlanta. It's happening in first or third of October. It will be also a hybrid event. There are people going down in Atlanta, as well as people can participate in the hackathon, being even in India. So guys, just register and start participating. So yeah, Mohan, I brought it up, with base ledger discussion, that yes, this is built as a layer 2 platform, so it also sort of reduces the total cost of ownership of any system that we think about, cost of ownership as well as operation, right, to any system that we imagine here. So yeah, it's been quite an interesting discussion. Any closing thought, guys? I hate to say this, but if we are quite over time, and the YouTube participation is surprisingly going up. So thank you. I think your fans are joining now. Cool.
Well, Saturday is just starting.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. So any other thoughts, guys, or are we good to go?
I
Ah,
think I'm
good.
gonna look forward. Yeah, I'm gonna look
Yeah,
forward to the
same
next
here.
session. Yeah, and
Cool.
cool for now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shubham,
let's
you were
catch up
saying something?
after.
No, I think it's been good, very interactive, and let's stay in touch.
For sure.
There's a lot to do here. This space
For
is
sure.
pretty new still.
Yeah, it's even baseline is buzzing with activity every day. So I welcome you all to the community. Please do join the Slack channel, and do subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. So you'll keep getting updates on what's happening. Thank you so
So
much, everybody.
what does the YouTube channel go by, Samrat?
Sorry, say it again.
The YouTube channel, it's just baseline.
Yeah, you just call it just it's just called Baseline Protocol. I'll send you the
Okay.
link.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure to host you guys today. Thanks for taking a time out for this, and thanks for also agreeing to have subsequent sessions. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Do tune
Thank you
in
Thanks,
for
Samrat.
having
next
me.
Saturday. We do this every Saturday. Thank you. Now comes the baseline tune. Hang on. So I have it on. Yeah, for some reason I have it on my phone today. But yeah, here it goes. And now comes an ad. Cause yeah, sort of not a
It's
good
something
time.
we can do a radio ad. Today we bring you this show's being brought by Amul. Amul is good for you.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay, cool.
Thank you so much.
Good one.
It's
This
Yeah.
been
should be
amazing. See you next Saturday. Cheers,
this should
guys.
have been
Thanks.
playing all this
Thank
while. This should have been playing all this while. Yeah. Cool.